CZ being gone, what does that mean for Bitcoin? I mean, is this all a positive for Bitcoin? And if so, to what extent?
Yeah, it just removes so much noise from the marketplace. For the last 6 years, since 2017, the top of funnel for people to get into Bitcoin, what they're drawn in by first was all of these ridiculous claims from the shitcoin promoters like Binance and Coinbase and Ethereum and Consensus and Andreessen Horowitz, right? It's just pump and dump after pump and dump and all these false claims about blockchain, crypto, whatever, DLT, NFTs, all these things that were supposed to be amazing, metaverse, and it's just all proven to be trash. And then on the other side, now you have this incentive for the largest, most credible, most trusted financial services firms on the planet, the BlackRocks and the Fidelities of the world, to go out and promote Bitcoin. And so what I've been saying for the last year, as we've started to get rumblings that these spot Bitcoin ETFs might actually launch, is they're going to come to the Bitcoin experts, the Bitcoin mouthpieces, the people that actually know a lot about Bitcoin to help market those things. And that's the new top of funnel. So now people are going to discover Bitcoin by learning about Bitcoin instead of having to wade through all of the noise from the nefarious shitcoin promoters. And that's a massive positive for Bitcoin.
All right, so let's talk about the spot Bitcoin ETF and the involvement of these major institutional players like BlackRock, which we have discussed at length before, and we'll drop a link to that in the description of this video, where you and I have really discussed BlackRock spot Bitcoin ETF and the implications there. But it does seem as though with the Binance situation sort of put aside, at least one part of it legally, that the chances of a spot Bitcoin ETF have increased quite dramatically. What are your thoughts there?
Listen, I'm not a better handicapper than Bloomberg, and I think they're putting it at 90% chance of passage by January, which is unbelievable. And I think the reason that there's a deadline of January is because they don't want to give unfair treatment to ARK, I believe, is one of the two that has a deadline of January, and then the rest be kicked down the road to April. But basically, if they're going to pass ARK, they kind of have to pass everyone at the same time, I think is the way they're thinking about it, because otherwise it just looks really bad. So that's it. I think it's January 10th or 11th, I think is the deadline when we ought to know one way or the other what's going to happen here. So.
And do you see a whole number of ETFs approved at once?
That's what I'm saying. I think they will have to approve all of them at the same time. And it's,
I think there are about like 12 active applications. So you see all of those getting the green light, like pretty much on the same day.
Unless there's something wrong with their application and they don't plan to grant that application, which won't happen for any of the big ones that have good lawyers. So all of the big guys will get through at the same time. And there may be a stragglers that get left and have more comments or something.
Yeah, you mentioned Bloomberg has it at 99%. There's a report from
90.
Matrix.
Did you see 99? I saw 90 last week.
I'm just quoting you, Cory. 90%. We have a report from Matrix Sport, an analyst there, Marcus Thiel, and he's saying that he sees it as 100% possibility. I say nothing is 100% in this life except for death and taxes. So I don't know that I would agree with those odds.
Death, taxes, and Bitcoin.
I kind of knew we're going to complete that sentence that way, as one would expect from a man wearing a Bitcoin t-shirt. I'm still going to stick with death and taxes as my 100% possibilities that I'm aligned with. But let's say that January 10th, 11th comes and there is no approval. What would that indicate?
Yeah, I mean, that would mean that it would mean that BlackRock has its first ever or second ever failure in trying to get an ETF passed. I think they're 575 out of 576 or something like that. So yeah, it's hard to imagine why that would happen. I have to think that would be, one of these unknown unknowns. We don't know what that reason would be that they wouldn't pass it at this point. So to recap some of the roadblocks, it mostly came down to being worried about manipulation of the spot price of Bitcoin and having people being able to manipulate the price of the ETFs that would be regulated inside the USA. And so, as you were saying earlier, maybe one of or you were kind of hinting at it about 20 minutes ago, maybe one of the things that had to happen was reining in the offshore unregulated crypto casino volume trading in Bitcoin from venues like Binance before you could greenlight in a spot ETF in the USA. So that's been done. You have the surveillance sharing agreement that Coinbase has done, which means that regulators can see inside of Coinbase's books and sniff for manipulation and be able to look at that as it trades versus CME futures and versus spot ETFs in the near future, probably. So that's probably an important element that wasn't in place if somebody was applying for an ETF a year ago. That happened in 2023. So a few things like that have fallen into place that make the reasons to deny a spot Bitcoin ETF pretty much down to almost nothing, if not completely gone.
All right, but if it doesn't get approved, does that necessarily mean that it's dead in the water or just delayed for whatever reason? I mean, would you still be optimistic
There
if
would be
January
a reason.
comes and goes and we don't get any approvals? Would you still be optimistic that this is something that could still be quite likely to happen?
Yeah, I would. I think eventually it's inevitable. If for some reason it doesn't pass in January, or for some reason they reject the two for good reason that are due in January for a decision, and then also turn around and reject the other 10 in April, then it would be for a reason that I don't think that we have on the table yet today. I don't know what that is, and maybe we'll find out what that is, but I still have to imagine at some point, if that's cleared up, there would be no long-term reason to bar this from happening.
So the big question is, what does that mean for the price of Bitcoin if it is approved? Now, I know, Cory, you're a long-time hodler. I know you see Bitcoin as a very long-term safe haven store of value asset, that you're not necessarily interested in immediate price moves. But for the viewers that are, do you have a forecast on what happens on the approval? Is that already priced in? Is it one of those a buy on the rumor, sell on the news events, or do you expect a significant increase on news of approval?
Wait, who said I wasn't interested in price? Like, I love seeing number go up.
I know you love number go up, but I know that in your heart, that's not the motivation here.
Yeah, I'm not interested in trading, but I do look at Bitcoin priced in dollars, the current global reserve currency, as the most obvious metric of Bitcoin's success. That's what shows us, since supply is fixed at 21 million, all we have is increasing demand among 8 billion humans to show us how good we're doing at driving global Bitcoin adoption. It's a monetary network, and the more value that flows into the protocol, the higher number goes.
So for the price to go up, for the number go up, people, what are you expecting?
It's going to be a deluge of money coming in through these spot Bitcoin ETFs. I don't want to put a number on it. I would just say, if we were thinking about a bull market, this would probably accelerate it, make it happen a bit earlier, quite a bit earlier potentially than it has in previous cycles. For anyone kind of new to Bitcoin, historically, because of the way that Bitcoin protocol issues new coins every 4 years or so, there's a lot of pressure on the price to go up a little bit after the halving, which is the same as election years, interestingly. So about 6 to 12 months after 2012, same thing after 2016, same thing after 2020, there's been a bull market. So there've been these 3 large price spikes over the course of about a year, and spaced pretty close to 4 years apart, which has been pretty fascinating to watch. Because you would think with efficient markets and everybody being able to see this, wouldn't we just bid up the price now? But the way it interplays with Bitcoin mining, and again, the issuance rate of the currency from the protocol, we keep on seeing these bull markets. So if I were just looking at it and there were no rumors of an ETF and no expectation that they would pass, then I would be normally looking at a budding bull market toward the end of 2024 and rolling into early 2025. But I think we've already had people front running this news quite a bit. We've seen a price rise from about 25,000 per Bitcoin up to 38,000 already just in the last month and a half or so. And I think that it's very possible that we could see quite a ridiculous first half to 2024, which would be way out of band for what has happened with Bitcoin according to historical cycles.
Am I going to get a numerical value or a number for quite a ridiculous
Yeah,
upside?
of course you are. Of course you are. Yeah, I'll give you the same one that I've been giving for years, that we will have $1 million per Bitcoin in 2030.